If love was enough, you probably wouldn't still be single till now. Yes, let that resonate for a second. You wouldn't still be recovering from a situationship you poured your heart into. You wouldn't be replaying that relationship that felt right, but still ended wrong. You wouldn't be asking, how did I end up here again? But here you are, single, tired, confused, still wondering how the same cycle keeps repeating, even though you followed your heart. Maybe it's time to question the very idea we've been fed all our lives, that love will lead you right. But what if it won't? What if falling in love is exactly what's been holding you back from finding what lasts? Because here's the hard truth. Butterflies lie. Chemistry doesn't equal character, and emotions don't guarantee alignment. Let me break this down. From Disney to disaster, how the love myth took root. From the time we were kids, we've been fed one script. When it's real love, you'll just know. No one teaches us to ask, is he emotionally mature? Does he have life goals that match mine? Can he handle pressure without shutting down or lashing out? Nah, no one taught us that. We were taught to look for butterflies, to chase that spark, to wait for the guy who feels different. But real talk? That different feeling has landed so many people in the same exact pain. You felt connected, you felt seen, you felt like he could be the one. Until he started going cold, until he couldn't communicate, until he wasn't ready to commit, but still wanted access to you. And it hurt even more, because it felt so much like love. Let me say this clearly. Love, by itself, is not a strategy. It's an emotion. And when you date for the feeling, you stop checking the facts. He's not consistent. But we have a connection. He's emotionally unavailable. But I can feel he cares deep down. He avoids real conversations. But I know he loves me in his own way. Love becomes a cover story for chaos. Let me share something I heard from a woman in her late 40s. I stayed 5 years in a relationship that drained me because I thought our love was special. I ignored every red flag, but looking back, we didn't grow. We didn't build. We just kept trying to make our feelings enough, and it wasn't. And here's why this myth hits even harder. After 30, it cuts deeper, especially if you're in your 30s, 40s, or beyond. You've already done the healing. You've worked on yourself. You're not just looking for attention, you're looking for partnership. But guess what? That old belief, just wait for love, still lingers in your heart. And it makes you overlook people who are stable, kind, intentional, because they don't trigger the butterflies. You pass on the builder because he's not the thrill. And you chase the thrill who never builds. We had a vibe becomes more important than we have shared values. And that, right there, is why so many emotionally available, self-aware women stay stuck. You keep choosing partners that feel like love, but aren't built for life. Here's what you're really looking for, even if you don't know it yet. What most people are actually craving in a relationship isn't just love, it's safety, someone you don't have to tiptoe around. Stability, a person whose words and actions match. Growth, a partner who challenges and evolves with you. But here's the twist. Those things don't always come with fireworks. They often come with calm, with clarity, with peace. But if you've trained your nervous system to mistake chaos for chemistry, you'll overlook peace and call it boring. First, let's kill the fantasy so we can embrace reality. Hear this. Love doesn't choose your partner. You do. And when you choose based only on feelings, you give your future to emotion, not wisdom. If the feeling of love is your GPS, don't be surprised when it keeps taking you in circles. Nevertheless, I need you to quickly ask yourself this. Ask yourself, have I been dating for butterflies or building? Because if it's been butterflies every time and you're still single, it's not love that's the problem, it's how you've been choosing it. For instance, have you ever looked back at a man you once swore you loved and thought, what the hell was I thinking? Yeah, you're not alone. You weren't crazy, you weren't desperate, you weren't foolish, you were emotionally invested. But here's the truth. No one told us growing up. The heart is powerful, but it's also blind. And when you give it the steering wheel without inviting your brain for the ride, you end up crashing into the same kind of man, just with a different name and a fresher cologne. So, let's talk about how that trap works, and why it keeps pulling good women in, and how to get out. 1. The emotional hole that makes you choose wrong. Here's what happens, especially to women who love deeply and give fully. You meet someone, you feel a spark. You say to yourself, this one's different. He makes you laugh, he compliments you, you feel seen, you open up, you imagine the future, and you invest emotionally. But slowly, things start shifting. He pulls back, he becomes inconsistent, he stops showing up the way he did in the beginning. And what do? Instead of stepping away, you try harder. You call it loyalty, you think it's love. But really, you're fighting to preserve a fantasy, because in your mind it felt so real, so aligned, so magical. How could it fall apart? But here's what's really going on. You weren't in love with him. You were in love with the version of him you created in your heart. It was just an emotional attraction that clouds your judgment. Just pause for a while and think about this honestly. Have you ever ignored red flags because the chemistry was crazy? Justified poor communication because he's been through a lot? And told yourself, he just needs time, even though he was clearly non-committal? That's the catch. You didn't do all that because you loved him. That's an emotional wishful thinking. That wasn't love. When you date with only your heart, you stop looking at the relationship for what it is and start clinging to what you want it to be. It's like being in a fog. You're not thinking clearly, you're feeling intensely. And feelings can make even the worst idea look like God's timing. So, why do so many women stay too long in the wrong story? Here's why. When you lead with emotion, you invest before you evaluate. You give before you confirm. And once you've invested enough emotionally, it becomes harder to walk away, even when the signs are screaming at you. So instead of asking, is this relationship helping me grow? Does he add peace or create pressure? Is there alignment between our values? You ask, what more can I do? How can I fix this? Maybe if I just give him more time? That's not love. That's emotional labor. And too many good women are emotionally exhausted from trying to make it work with someone who never showed up from the beginning. And that is how love becomes a cycle of self-abandonment. Let's be real for a second. When you love someone, but they constantly make you feel unsure, anxious, or invisible, that's not your heart guiding you. That's your trauma calling you back to the familiar. And sometimes the reason you're drawn to emotionally unavailable men is because you've been conditioned to prove your worth instead of protect your peace. And if you grew up equating love with chasing or earning or overgiving, then calm, consistent, safe love might feel boring, even though it's exactly what you need. And that is why you need to start breaking free from that cycle. So how do you break the cycle? 2. Date with clarity, not just chemistry. And how do you do that? You should stop asking, do I feel something for him? And start asking, can I build something with him? You shift from dating to feel alive, to dating someone who helps you stay whole. You stop waiting to be swept off your feet and start looking for someone who will stand beside you when life gets hard. It's not about eliminating emotion, it's about adding clarity to it, because love that blinds you will break you, but love that builds with you will elevate you. Here's a quick test you can try right now. Ask yourself these 3 questions about the last man you were deeply attracted to. 1. Did I feel peace in my body or anxiety in my chest? 2. Was I able to speak up freely or was I scared of rocking the boat? 3. Was he consistent over time or just intense in the beginning? If your answers point to anxiety, silence, and inconsistency, sis, that wasn't love. That was emotional danger disguised as romance. And now you know that love by itself isn't enough. It can feel magical, powerful, intoxicating. But if you don't pair that emotion with wisdom, boundaries, and clarity, you'll keep falling in love with people who have no business in your future. So here's the shift. This video is your blueprint, not just for who to date, but how to date. Because if you've been leading with your heart and ending up hurt, it's time to reset your strategy without closing off your soul. Let's walk through the new rules, the ones that protect your peace and your passion. Rule number 1. Date with your eyes open, not just your heart. Love is not a reason to ignore reality. Feelings are real, but they're not always true. So when you meet someone and feel that spark, pause, observe, and ask yourself, how does he handle frustration? Does he communicate clearly or shut down? Is he consistent even when things aren't exciting? The right man isn't just charming, he's emotionally dependable. Don't let chemistry trick you into calling someone a soulmate when he's just another soft-spoken storm. Rule number 3. Define what you actually want, then stick to it. A lot of women feel stuck in their dating life because they've never taken time to define what a healthy relationship even looks like for them. So sit with yourself and ask, what kind of love brings out my best? What does being cherished look like for me? What are my non-negotiables? And what's just preference? Once you have that clarity, don't bend it for a good time. Let peace be your compass, not attention, not loneliness, not potential. Rule number 4. Don't confuse emotional intensity with compatibility. Take this seriously. Some of the most passionate, addictive, unforgettable connections are also the most toxic. Why? Because they were fueled by emotional wounds, not emotional health. If someone makes you feel like you're on a roller coaster, up one day, doubting yourself the next, that's not love. That's instability. That's trauma bonding. That's your nervous system craving what it thinks is love, because it's familiar chaos. The right love feels like peace. The right person feels like home, not a battlefield. Rule number 5. Choose the person who chooses with you, not just wants you. There's a difference between someone who wants you and someone who is ready to build a life with you. Wanting is passive. Choosing is active. The man who's choosing you will show it with clarity, consistency, communication, commitment. He doesn't just talk about how he feels. He shows up for how you feel. He's emotionally present. He's available. He's invested. That kind of man may not always give you butterflies, but he'll give you roots. Finally, here is a bonus advice. Always remember that love isn't a fairy tale. It's a partnership. Yes, love should feel good, but it should also feel safe, intentional, grounded. You're not in the relationship to chase a Disney ending. Those are fantasies. You're there to build a relationship that holds you both in your highs and your lows. A love where you both show up, where communication is honest, where emotional needs aren't dismissed, but prioritized. That's not boring. That's grown-up, lasting, magnetic love. And when you start dating from that space, the game changes. You stop wasting time. You stop repeating pain. You stop shrinking to fit someone's comfort zone. You finally walk in love with your whole self intact. Here are my final thoughts. You are not too much. You're just choosing too small. The problem was never that you loved too deeply. It's that you gave deep love to people who couldn't hold it. From this moment on, date with alignment. Speak with clarity. Love with boundaries. And remember, the person who truly loves you won't just feel it. They'll prove it, consistently. If this video speaks to your soul, don't just scroll. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your experiences. Smash that like button if this message gave you clarity. And don't forget to subscribe for more heart-hitting relationship advice that helps you date wiser, love deeper, and bond properly. You're not single because something's wrong with you. You're single because you're evolving. And when your mindset has finally shifted, so will your love life. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, in all you do, always remember to let love breed.